So this little device is something that I call a cloud deck. And I created this device recently to do some really cool functionality. And basically what it is essentially it's a knockoff of a knockoff, right? So there's a lot of projects out there going by various names. One notable one called Stream Cheap. And the Stream Cheap is a knockoff, and I say that not in a bad way at all, but it's a DIY knockoff of the very popular device known as a Stream Deck. And essentially it's just a macro keyboard, right? So a lot of people use the Stream Deck or the Stream Cheap, they make their own, and they program these buttons to perform certain functions on their computer. It's essentially a macro keyboard, right? So I created the Cloud Deck as kind of a knockoff of the Stream Cheap. And what it does is it performs various functions in the Oracle Cloud via the Oracle Cloud REST API, various functions related to my cloud tenancy. So depending on what I want to do, this device can pretty much handle any of that. So if I plug it in here and power it up, there's no external LED, but if you kind of peek in the end there, you can see that the blue LED is lit, so everything should be ready to go. And in hindsight, I probably would have been nice to add like a little LED over here on the side or something to indicate that the device was ready, as well as to give some feedback. But, you know, there's always version 2. So it's all self-contained. It is a 3D printed case. Some Cherry MX keys that are relegible, and I printed out my own little labels here. But what happens is there's an ESP32 device inside, and that device is programmed with the Arduino IDE, and it uses the OCI, unofficial OCI REST API library that I created. And I'll put a link to the description of what that is and a blog post that explains about that down in the description. But it uses the OCI REST APIs to perform certain functions related to my cloud tenancy. So a lot of times you need information or you want to perform actions with a simple click of a button, right? So this button here, if I press that, for example, it retrieves information about my tenancy. So sometimes you need your tenancy OCID, things like that. This button here, if I press that, that retrieves information about my user. So again, sometimes you need your user OCID, sometimes you want to know very specific details about your user. So that's what that button does. This button will list all of my API keys for a given user. This button will retrieve information about a database instance. This button gives me information about the last database backup that I performed in this tenancy. And this button here will actually launch a VM. So it's not only information that we can retrieve with this sweet little device, we can actually perform actions as well, right? So if I wanted to actually launch a VM brand new from scratch, I could press that button and get that taken care of in just a few short seconds. Some more actions that I can take here. Let's say I have a QA or test environment in my cloud, and I have a database instance, I have a VM, whatever I have up in my tenancy related to QA or test. If I wanted to have a very quick shortcut to turn all of those instances up or down, I can map those actions to these two buttons. So if I press either one of these buttons, this button will turn my QA/test environment up, and this one will shut it down. So if I want to avoid any charges for that tenancy, I can just simply press those buttons at the beginning and the end of the day, and it's only running when I need it to be running. Of course, you could auto schedule something like that, but it's also nice to have a little shortcut. So really the possibilities are endless. Anything that you want to automate in your cloud tenancy can be done with this little device. You can map any kinds of commands, anything like that. And as you'll see as I kind of edit this video out, what happens is after this information is retrieved or the action is taken in the cloud tenancy, what I actually do is I also use the OCI REST APIs to send a notification. So I have a notification endpoint, a subscription, a custom app in Slack that I created that receives the information that I want to send. So once that information is processed and done, it sends that nice notification to my Slack channel. So a handy little device, really kind of fun project to work on, but also helpful and useful in that it retrieves information and performs tasks in my Oracle Cloud Tenancy with just a simple click of a button.